Hi, and welcome to Art Lab, a podcast dedicated to conversations on visual culture with me, Kamaini. On today's episode, we have with us Jyoti Nisha, filmmaker, writer, and researcher. I first came across her work a couple years ago while looking to put together a film screening and finding the trailer of her documentary in progress, B.R. Ambedkar Now and Then, a widely anticipated, partially crowd-funded film that is now readying for release. In 2020, I read her article in Economic and Political Weekly, Indian Cinema and the Bahujan Spectatorship, where she addresses the politics of the gaze from her perspective as a Dalit woman viewer and media scholar. Jyoti's name rolled up in the credits of this year's Gili Pucci, Neeraj Ghaiwan's blockbuster short, part of the Netflix anthology Ajeeb Dastans. Jyoti was director's assistant on Gili Pucci, a landmark in the history of Bombay cinema that explored caste identity and same-sex desire and featured an absolutely unforgettable Dalit protagonist. The original film screening that led me to Jyoti's practice couldn't happen back then, but I'm glad that thanks to Art Lab, I got the chance to have an in-depth conversation with her about her craft and activism. Now let me introduce you to her. Jyoti Nisha is an independent writer and filmmaker based in Mumbai. She is an experienced journalist, a trained academic writer, screenwriter, and filmmaker. Her soon-to-be-released, crowd-funded film, B.R. Ambedkar Now and Then, explores Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's life symbolically and politically, and delves into the representation and assertion of Bahujan politics in today's time. She has co-produced the film with Pa Ranjit's Neelam Productions. Jyoti introduced a new theory, Indian cinema and the Bahujan spectatorship in EPW, elaborating on the consumption of popular cinema by the marginalized of this country. She worked as director's assistant to filmmaker Neeraj Ghaiwan for a short titled Gili Pucci, released on Netflix in an anthology, Ajeeb Dastans, produced by Dharma Productions. Jyoti has written for Economic and Political Weekly, The Times of India, The Indian Express, NDTV, Food, Sony, Vivid Bharati, and also academic articles with a major focus being on cinema, entertainment, music, caste, gender, and media. On today's episode, we discuss growing up as a young woman in Uttar Pradesh of the 1990s and 2000s, how Jyoti came to filmmaking via journalism, screenwriting, and academia, working on, of all things, a Dharma movie, and her journey, artistic and logistical, towards the completion of the forthcoming B.R. Ambedkar Now and Then. By way of Jyoti's own essay, African American Film History, and the polemical theories of the documentarian Trin T. Minha, we unpack the idea of the oppositional Bahujan gaze unto Indian cinema and the complicated question of how realism in Indian cinema is part of a Brahmanical aesthetic scheme. Thank you so much for joining us, Jyoti Nisha. It's great to have you on Art Lab. I'd been looking forward to talking to you. So I'm really glad that you could take time out of your busy schedule to speak to us.
Thanks a lot, I think, for reaching out. I'm excited. Let's go talking.
Before we continue, I'd like to let our listeners know how to access the material accompanying our conversation. To view the images and other material being referenced and discussed in the episode, click on the link in the show notes to access the guide. You can also find the link to the guide for each episode in our Instagram captions and tweets. I think right as of now, it seems like, coming off the success of Gili Pucci and also the excitement for B.R. Ambedkar Now and Then, your forthcoming documentary, and your EPW essay on the gaze, Indian cinema and Bahujan spectatorship. Everyone wants to, get your take on things both within and outside of cinema. But I thought we could rewind a bit and, go right back to the beginning. So tell us a little bit about how you came to choose the creative arts as a vocation. You are from Uttar Pradesh, and I'm from erstwhile Uttar Pradesh. I'm from Uttarakhand, and I remember growing up there in the 90s and 2000s, and it was not an environment which particularly encouraged people, especially women, to dream about this kind of profession. And it's also seen as somewhat risky. The artistic life is full of uncertainties. And wanting to be a writer and director in that milieu is quite an unusual decision. So how did you decide on this? And then go about pursuing your dream. You've also made the archetypal journey, from a smaller town to Bombay, quote unquote. It's a bit of a trope. So talk about that a little bit.
Wow. Okay. I think I'm just like following my dreams, if I have to say so, in a very crisp manner. Even at a young age, I think I was more like a intense kid, intense, but at the same time, like fun as well. It started with writing, also in Hindi, Urdu sort of, And a lot of times, what I remember is like, I think, I don't know, I've never talked about this, but I don't know why it's just like it's right there in my head right now. So my father passed away when I was 16. So we didn't have so much time to really, chat and interact. And I think I saw my father reading a lot. But of course, I didn't understand what he was reading, but I saw him like reading a lot of books, and there was always Baba Saheb in the backdrop, and you don't know who was Baba Saheb, obviously, but he was something ke 14 April to hum karte the celebrate. He was in the movement, and so very, if you say like very Bahujan culture, so it was like Buddha Purnima celebrate hota tha, then 14 April celebrate hota hi tha. So there was very, very like a hardcore insistence on education, and he also watched a lot of cinema. So I'm like the sixth child, so like I was always taken to these cinema halls. My parents used to go.
This was in Lucknow.
This was in Hardoi, so I was born in Hardoi.
Oh, okay.
So like I really saw like them watching a lot of films. Sometimes it's really funny because I don't know what it was like, but I always saw TV around when I was born, at least, in the sense whether it was village or whether it was my home, so there was always a TV. Pehle black and white TV tha, jisme channel badalte the ab. So this is what I've seen like when I was growing up. So they were watching films, and a lot of times when hota tha ki थिएटर में जगह नहीं है तो उनको चेयर दे दिया जाता था because they were regular.
Right, that's nice.
So that is something.
Beloved.
Yeah. So बहुत फिल्म देखा उन्होंने. फिर then they moved to Lucknow, and Lucknow में थिएटर जहाँ हम रहते थे वो काफी दूर थे. But then we got a TV, VCR आया. फिर वीडियो लाइब्रेरी का मेंबरशिप बने.
So I feel like your memories of your childhood, I think it is for many of us, from this era, is intertwined with media and culture and sort of, mass culture in this particular way.
Yeah.
You can't like extricate your deeply personal and intimate memories from this kind of public media culture. तो वो काफी दिलचस्प है. तो आपके जो फिल्मों में जाने का जो सिलसिला था वो बहुत पहले ही शुरू हो गया था.
हाँ, मतलब मैं कॉन्शियस नहीं थी कि मेरे को फिल्म में जाना है, बट डेफिनेटली स्टोरीज फॉर श्योर. मतलब मैंने वो चाचा चौधरी, पिंकी, टिंकर, लाइक सुपर कमांडो ध्रुव एंड नागराज and what was like, there was some other like fighter toad doga.
वो सारे राज कॉमिक्स वाले ना.
Yes. तो वो तो like so this is something I did in my I think गर्मी की छुट्टियों में मैं यही पढ़ती थी. मतलब 1 रुपए की एक कॉमिक मिलती थी उस समय. And I think my father's passing sort of like it was like a lot of weight on my heart and like all of us, because you don't understand it, you don't understand death in that way. So उनको वही मतलब मैंने मूवमेंट में देखा और काफी मतलब.
जब आप कह रहे हो मूवमेंट में तो क्या डू यू मीन लाइक जो कांशीराम जी वगैरह के साथ जो यूपी में उस वक्त आंदोलन था?
हाँ. So this is something I saw growing up, like this is what I saw of my father. And after his passing, there was like writing sort of became like a refuge. Like very deep thoughts started, like it just started I don't know, pouring in some way, like you're not conscious, like, but you know, like I was trying to express in some ways.
It's also therapeutic. It's sort of cathartic.
Yeah.
At that age, when you're 16, especially in a young woman's life,
Yeah.
it's a very strange time because you're going through so much.
Yeah.
And the loss of a parent, there are no schemas for it. No? Like, nobody can tell you how it feels, right?
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, seeing my mother, like, and she was really obviously going through too much as well. But then, so yeah, writing happened and it started healing me in some ways. It gave me a space and a voice, and it made me happy in some way. You know, it made me feel like I am exploring something. There is something I'm trying to say. I was a good science scholar, so I was a science student until class 12th. So, and my family did not want me to do arts. They were hardcore.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was like, how did that happen? Because if you're a smart kid and you do well in science, then like there's a lot of pressure, right? Like,
there was a pressure. They wanted me to become a doctor, and so I think arts लिया घर में बताया नहीं कि BA में admission दे दिया है लखनऊ में डाल दिया है मैंने. फिर journalism also like happened. I studied mass English journalism in IMC. So there, like, you don't know, it's a different way of looking. Like,
but that was also the first time you moved out of
Lucknow. IMC Delhi, but uska ek aur, there is this one more outreach institution. It's in Dhen Canal. Ye Raurkela ke paas mein hai. So by then, I think once I got into journalism, what happened was like, because I was, I think, watching a lot of TV. पापा बहुत चार्ली चैपलिन शोज देखते थे हम बैठ के, फिर चित्रहार देखते थे, फिर फिल्म भी देखते थे. सो आई थिंक इट रियली समहाउ मेड अ लॉट ऑफ इम्पैक्ट इन द बैक ऑफ माई हेड. आई वाज यूज्ड टू, लाइक आई न्यू कि बिजनेस तो आता ही नहीं है, क्योंकि नेचुरली तुम्हें मैथ्स भी नहीं आता है तो बिजनेस तो नहीं पढ़ सकते. स्पोर्ट्स में कोई खास दिलचस्पी नहीं थी. Then yes, like it was TV, films, you know, so an entertainment. So it was like entertainment sector में जाना पड़ेगा, ऐसा clear हो गया था. So right after IMC Delhi, I got a job in Times of India, Lucknow. After few, I mean, this was not a college placement, so I got to know that. Very interestingly, I was picked on Orkut.
You know, this is the second time that Orkut has been referenced on my podcast, and like all of us are showing our age. Like all of us are old people.
Yeah.
Okay, for the kids listening, Orkut was a social media network that was huge in the late 2000s, and for some reason, all of us were on it. It was big in India, and a lot of people got jobs and loves and everything in between thanks to that one website. Like, I remember the crazy flirting and the recruitment. It was super aggressive.
Yeah, so I was like, so Orkut happened. Orkut पे किसी ने बोला अरे यहाँ पे जॉब है, आ जाओ इंटरव्यू देने के लिए. मैंने कहा अरे वाह सही है, तो मैं चली.
This is a true blue early 21st century success story.
So मेरे को बुलाया उन्होंने, फिर एक रिटन टेस्ट लिया, फिर इंटरव्यू लिया. And then then said कहा कि एक हफ्ते बाद बोला आ जाओ फिर.
Do you feel like you bring some of that journalistic training to your work as a screenwriter or as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I think so. It like that's what now it translates into one or the other. You can't like switch off one thing and do another thing. I think it's.
But like, I guess the question is, what are the skills that, you know, being a journalist equips you with? That are like, you know, that being in the profession gives you.
Ability to ask questions. Like, I think as a person, more so also like coming from Lucknow, I was never like a fan of anybody. It was also.
You weren't a starstruck person ever.
Yeah, not at all. So I was never like a starstruck person. So I had also like, you know, going through working with Times of India, you get to see, you having spoken to musicians and gone to this. It was like quite a cultural impact in that sense, and also having met people, spoken to people who were following what they were wanting to do, and they seemed happy in some way. They seemed like satisfied, and they also felt like if this is doable. I felt like it's doable. It's not something it's not done. So yeah, I mean, and also I think the time I spent in Times of India yeah, nearly like a year and a half. I think that was enough for me. I had learned, I felt I had learned already what I wanted to learn. And then I also was writing, I was also maintaining a blog at that point of time. So, yeah, so I mean, I'd applied for applied for FTII, took the paper. There was this book by Sid Field. What was the name?
On screenwriting.
Yeah. What's the name?
It's like one of those cult books. Even I've forgotten the title, but
yeah.
Sid
It
Field,
is hated for a lot of things as well.
Yeah, screenplay, the foundations of screen.
Yes,
writing.
yes, the foundations of screenplay writing.
Yeah.
So वो पढ़ा कुछ दिन before the exam. लिखना तो आ ही गया था थोड़ा बहुत टाइम से भी मैं काम करते करते थोड़ा बहुत not like you were like you could write at least.
It's also a matter of discipline.
Yeah.
And a habit.
So I think writing that way helped, and then हो गया, फिर बुलाया गया, फिर FTI मतलब पूना देखा पहली बार. उसका गेट देखा FTI का. कॉलेज बहुत चिल था. So I was like यहाँ तो जाना ही है कुछ तो करके.
मैं भी पूना की पढ़ी हूँ तो कई बार कई दफे इनफैक्ट शायद जब आप थे तब मैं भी वहाँ आया जाया करती थी. In the years that you were at FTI, I was at Ferguson doing my bachelor's. So there's a chance that we may have run into each other, but obviously उस वक्त तो नहीं पता था कि कौन क्या है.
So there were some members of NFI who used to come regularly. I mean, कभी मतलब there used to be some kind of film festivals, छोटा मोटा. I mean, और या किसी का पूरा आप filmography दिखा रहे हो. हाँ, so lots of things were happening. There was cinematography, direction. There was a TV department, and there was the film department. तो सब में सब कुछ था, edit, and the teachers also, man. It's not just like the students, also the teachers and the kind of camaraderie you could have, like, and they will not treat you like अरे तुम student हो अभी भी. They treat you like adults. They held you sort of responsible. You were judged for what you said and what you wrote. You were asked, I mean, not asked, but you were supposed to have an opinion, I think so, in some way.
Yeah, you weren't infantilized.
Yeah.
You treated like a peer.
Yeah. We would request that हमें रात में काम करना. तो कुछ बच्चे दिन में लिखते हैं, कुछ बच्चे रात में लिखते हैं. तो हमारे labs खोले रहते थे. You could go in and out, So it was like a really nice place to also see, I mean, find your voice. There was also obviously there's a pressure of also finding your voice कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो और क्या film देखा तुमने.
It sounds very formative for you also as a writer from how you describe it. Like it contributed a lot, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever I want to write, I want the other person to see it, to be able to place themselves and have like both the, like be a part of that world in that sense, and have like I'm not like a neutral. I won't say that I choose to be like a neutral space, but I try to build like a world which exists. Like I try to place myself always like in time and space in that sense, So then I'm able to see. So then I try not to have like just one singular picture. It's like a whole picture.
So you're saying that you're someone who likes to have her narrative or the world that she's building in her scripts be somewhat multi-perspectival. Like there are all of these different opportunities to enter the space of the scenario, right?
Yeah. There are so many ways. There are so many like places of entry. So after I came to Bombay, after FTII, I worked and वो सास बहू मतलब soaps चल रहे थे.
That was the era.
Yeah, and then soaps चल रहे हैं. सावधान इंडिया है, क्राइम पेट्रोल है. Yeah, those kind of things. And I am like, I think मुझे ना वायलेंस ही पसंद है और ना ही लाइक रिग्रेसिव कल्चर पसंद है. तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि कैसे एंटर, हाउ डू यू नेगोशिएट अ प्लेस, व्हाट डू यू वांट टू डू in Bombay actually. So basically they were just like jobs to do to pay your bills, और बॉम्बे आके स्क्रीन राइटिंग का कोर्स करने के बाद भी you're also growing up, as a person as well. So your all of your other friends, somebody is in like a banker, or somebody is like a software engineer, or somebody is like I don't know, they're in IT and they're in US and they're in UK and you're in India and Bombay and you're sharing a space and trying to figure out a job for yourself.
Yeah. Seems like you're in this state of extended adolescence and all your peers are suddenly becoming adults. It's a very strange
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. I mean,
I don't mean that we feel that. I mean the infrastructures are set up in a way where
yeah,
like people like us who choose creative fields and choose artistic ventures as a
yeah,
way of life, we
yeah,
end up having to make a lot of material compromises compared
yeah,
to our peers who choose more conventional
yeah,
paths.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Like
Of course,
मेरे
absolutely. Yeah,
मेरे लेबर का पैसा कहाँ है काम तो
correct,
मैं भी उतना ही
correct.
कर रही हूँ.
Correct, absolutely. And lots of like, I mean, so what the film school kind of prepares you is the creative practice. It doesn't prepare you for the business one. So no understanding of how to, really figuring work. काम तो मिल जाता है, ऐसा नहीं था काम नहीं मिल रहा था मुझे, मिला काम, अच्छा काम भी मिला, पर मेरा दिल ही नहीं हो रहा था वो करने का. मतलब मैं नहीं लिख पाई सोप, ऑनेस्टली. मुझे नहीं कनेक्ट हुआ, क्योंकि उसका जो प्रोसेस भी था लिखने का वो मुझे मतलब इट मेड मी फील सैड. फिर फिल्म मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं था, स्क्रीन राइटिंग कॉम्पिटिशन्स में कुछ गए, कुछ सेलेक्ट हो गया, अपॉर्चुनिटी मिला, बड़ी फंडिंग मिली, बट यू नॉट द डायरेक्टर, यू द राइटर. फंड्स गो टू डायरेक्टर्स. सो and then there is a dynamic. So वो पता नहीं work कर रही है नहीं work कर रही. You're a novice in the industry. There are bigger players, there are bigger producers. They're all men. So how do you negotiate this space while being yourself and trying to do something that you really enjoy doing? Feature film बनाने की कोशिश I had started in 2012 only. लिख लिया था, फंडिंग भी मिल गए थे, पर वर्कआउट ही नहीं हो रहा था डायरेक्टर के साथ में. और मेरे को डायरेक्शन आता ही नहीं था, समझता ही नहीं था. एंड आई थिंक आई एम स्टिल नॉट वेरी गुड एट इट, honestly.
I'm going to cut this part out.
No, I don't think so. I'm like really, I mean, I'm still learning. And I feel academic थोड़ा समझ में आ गया है. मतलब मुझे enjoy भी कर रही हूँ लिखना. मुझे लगता है कि मतलब I really want to do fiction, but I really also so very importantly recognize, I'm aware of it, that I need to do academic writing as well.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask, and like just talk a little bit briefly about, you straddle all of these different roles, right? You talked about being a journalist, you are a creative writer, a director, and also an academic now. So like there are probably challenges and rewards associated with each of these different kinds of writing, right?
Absolutely.
And also like it's like the cultural and analytical work doesn't really exist in silos. There is a kind of continuum on which along which you work. Even if you're working in different genres, there is an underlying undercurrent that kind of a substratum, let's say, of your values, of your intellectual kind of preoccupations that runs through all of these things. So I just wanted to ask, like, do you find, like, how do you negotiate juggling among these different kinds of writing work? And I'm saying this also because I myself am a writer who works in different genres, and it's a question I'm interested in also as a practitioner. How do you move?
I didn't, again, like I'm saying, I didn't plan to be an academic. I had already started shooting my film. And it was also like an impulse.
B.R.
Like
Ambedkar, right?
Yeah, B.R. Ambedkar, because it was working on the film made me realize that this is bigger. That's why I went to TISS also, because I felt like this is like an academic. This is also like a film which wants to educate. I mean, my whole purpose is, I feel like that's why Baba Saheb was also said, educate, educate, organize. So I think when I went to TISS, I sort of realized that it made a lot of sense, in the sense that it gives me language to articulate my thoughts and to really place myself also, as a person. So it made like a lot of sense. I felt like, oh, hey, I can also look at cinema, Indian cinema. So it's not the access to education or spaces, opportunities. It's a whole gaze. There is a whole system that exists. There's a whole apparatus which is working against you, which is working against people like you and the way they look at you, and untouchability and caste violence and institutional murders. So those things really, I felt really sad about it as well. I was like, wow, like this is systematic violence. And this needs to be corrected, I felt. And I was really, वो बहुत ही lived experience के perspective से वो, it was part of my life. So, and then, TIS and Dr. Ambedkar and students and protests and the political consciousness of this country, the circumstance of the country, and the agitations, the jabbings, and the appropriation of Dr. Ambedkar, and oh my God, like this is like full circle was like a full circle for me. कि अरे अभी सभी लोग क्यों बोल रहे हैं?
कमोडिफिकेशन भी उनके नाम की हो गई है और अब हम एक ऐसे दौर में हैं where it is fashionable to talk about caste in a particular way, to package it, and we'll talk about some of that, even in the context of your of you being a person in an industry that does that, and being very aware of it and seeing it. And like we see it like in scholarship, for instance, and we see it in mass culture. But I want to briefly stay with your EPW essay, Indian cinema and Bahujan spectatorship. You talked right now about finding the impetus to do this research also from on the basis of your own experience. And in your essay, you've set up the conversation through Bell Hooks' idea of the oppositional gaze. And she theorizes that in terms of Black female spectatorship. But basically, just for our listeners, I mean, I'll just explain it, and you can jump in as well. Just that in this essay, Bell Hooks is basically talking about the experience of watching popular American cinema, which is embedded within a framework of white supremacism, and how Black women watch these popular films, these industrially produced films, what we call Hollywood, let's say, through a gaze that is critical, and that forces them to forces the text, forces the film to yield to their own experience. They insert themselves in the films, they critique the films through their lived experiences, and so then the film, which may have been a product of a white supremacist ideological configuration, also becomes an object of interrogation by Black women. And therefore they're able to assert agency as spectators of mass culture. And Jyoti, in her essay, has used that to look at the post-independence history of Indian cinema. And you've talked about 4 different films in it. So I thought it was really interesting that you did a close reading of 4 films and across eras, from the 50s, from Sujata to Kala in the 2010s, and also again moving across in a way popular industries from Hindi cinema to also Tamil cinema. And in that sense, it's actually very telling that the film that most recently has been kind of heralded as a defining landmark film for Bahujan filmmakers, a film like Kala, also comes out of a Tamil film industrial complex, where in Tamil Nadu there already have been a lot of those discussions and discourses on caste and a kind of anti-Brahmanism movements or movements that are quite old now, that have been going on for a century now against Brahmanical hegemony, whereas the Hindi film industry represents a confluence of regions and interests that haven't necessarily gone through that experience. And not to say that, I mean, of course, North India has had its own movements, etc. But I'm just thinking that the Bombay film represents a very different kind of relationship to caste than Tamil film and Tamil society represents. So I wanted you to talk about that a little bit. I thought it was interesting how you talked about how, as a Bahujan woman spectator, your experience of life and the world is sort of elided and the way in which the Indian state excludes it and excludes the Bahujan woman is mirrored in the way that popular film also excludes and marginalizes the Bahujan woman spectator. And so, in that sense, you reveal how the material and symbolic aspects of Brahmanism are both imbricated, right? They can't be delinked. And you've talked about, the ideological state apparatus just now. So, do you want to just expound on that and just take our listeners through that?
But same thing, like when you again, the spectatorship is like how we are seeing it and what is your experience of how consumption of popular cinema and how you're represented in popular culture. And it just didn't match with my experience, which was very assertive. And I mean, it was, intellectual, having an opinion, intellectual capacity was sort of inculcated. I saw it happening around. So it just didn't make sense to me. It also made me, disappointed me in the ways that, like we, as a community, we're constantly asked this question of reservation. And there's this whole idea of merit that, the popular culture has also established across, this opinion where people have picked up fights. And you'll see pick up fights with each other and about this, the whole idea of merit, that you don't deserve it because you have this education. Then I'm like, arey, you guys तो had education, what happened? कुछ तो होना ही चाहिए था ना, मतलब वही सेम केस से कब तक देखोगे आप और क्यों देख रहे हो? मतलब फिर वो देख भी रहे हैं तो फिर what is driving them? Are you conscious of it when you're creating it? When you are peddling some kind of a hierarchy and a way of looking at people, then are you aware as a writer or as a filmmaker or even academician, why are you writing it? Why are you looking at it in that way? Have you done your research? Is it only led by power? You can completely float that knowledge or knowledge production or perspectives, hegemonized perspectives constantly. But as a human being, if you're like an artist, I think वो scope होता है यार, है ना? और आप कोई कैरेक्टर लिखते हो तो देखते हो कि उसका सोशल सर्कमस्टेंस क्या है, उसका वो क्या पढ़ रहा है आपका कैरेक्टर, क्या लिटरेचर पढ़ रहा है आपका कैरेक्टर, आप उसका पॉलिटिक्स क्या है, उसके बाल कैसे हैं, उसकी कमर झुकी हुई है या स्ट्रेट है, वो रेडिकल क्यों है, ट्रॉमा है क्या नहीं, बहुत सारे एंट्रीज हैं.
I think one of the things that I was interested in asking you was also about how do we think of, when we talk about troubling and ideologically determined framework in the visual realm, जब हम mass culture के context में we say this. So let's say I think realism has become a very fraught kind of mode to do that, right? And actually there's an essay, Totalizing Quest of Meaning by Trinity Minha. And she's a documentary filmmaker and a theorist as well. And, in this essay, she kind of really rips apart this conceit of realism as a kind of strategy to tell truth. So, the way in which, let's say, Bahujan stories, quote unquote, have been told historically in Hindi cinema, this condescending, pitying gaze put onto the communities and subjects that you want to kind of save. But you'll couch that or frame that in terms of realism. And maybe something like that happened with the much reviled Article 15. How can you lay claim to something being the truth? Merely by merely positing it as realistic or naturalistic. And as though somehow that makes it completely devoid of any personal subjective interpretation with your own kind of identitarian or ideological orientations, right, behind the camera. So do you think that realism has been kind of treated, has become ossified as a kind of Brahmanical, phallocentric tendency in Hindi cinema?
बिल्कुल, वो तो है ही. वही आइडियोलॉजी वाला क्वेश्चन है बेसिकली. जरूरी नहीं है आप भी अम्बेडकराइट हो सकते हो, जरूरी नहीं है आपका कास्ट लोकेशन डिफाइन करता है कि आप ब्राह्मणिकल ही हो. फिर अब वो एक क्वेश्चन कंडीशनिंग का भी है. तो वो कंडीशनिंग कैसे होता है, वो आपके वही आइडियोलॉजिकल स्टेट एपरेटस है, कई तरीके हैं, उनको वही सेम तरीके से ही देख रहे हो. उसका एक एस्थेटिक है, जो नाट्य शास्त्र से आता है, रसूत्र से आता है। अभी तक का भी जो सिनेमा है, आप पैरेलल सिनेमा जिसे हम बोलते हैं, जहाँ हमने ये सारी चीजें एक्सप्लोर की है, यू नो, लाइक कास्ट एंड जेंडर।
लेकिन वही तो ना, वो रियलिज्म का जो कंसीट है,
तो वही ना, वो क्वेश्चन गेज का ही है। आप सेपरेट कर सकते हो, अभी तक नहीं किया, कोशिश नहीं की। मतलब चैतन्य तमाने का एक कोट है, बस वही एक फिल्म मुझे लगी अभी तक। बट वो दिस इज सो ड्रिवन बाय आइडियोलॉजी। इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक मेरी मम्मी ने वो चटनी ऐसे बनाना सिखाया तो मैं भी ऐसे ही बनाऊंगी, क्योंकि सीखा है तुमने, कंडीशनड हो। अगर आप अपने आप को या कंडीशनिंग वो ब्रेक कर सकते हो कॉन्शियसली, अगेन लाइक व्हाट आई एम सेइंग कि these these vocations of being a writer, an academician, a filmmaker, there are those possibilities जहाँ कुछ खुलता है आपका।
I mean, to me that also seems like you're saying कि फिर हम अगर रियलिज्म को एज एन एस्थेटिक रिजेक्ट करें तो शायद कुछ प्रोडक्टिव हो सकता है, क्योंकि वहां पे
फ्रेमवर्क चेंज करना पड़ेगा आपको। देयर इज अ मेथड टू इवन प्रैक्टिसिंग इट। नाट्य शास्त्र में आप आके सिर्फ आप म्यूजिक नहीं कर रहे हो, आप डांस नहीं है, आप आर्किटेक्चर है, कैसे थिएटर है, मतलब वो देख चश्मा ही वही है ना। मारी हैज रिवर्स दैट गेज इन कर्णन, Ranjit has reversed that gaze in Kala. Look at the way they interpret Mahabharata. Look at the way he's interpreting Karnan's character. It is totally reversing it. So, and then like again, why is the cinema happening from that state? Because unka history hai, anti-caste movement ka. You know, there was Periyar there, Ayuthi Das, Tassa.
I mean, I guess what I'm also like interested in is because you drew that parallel earlier, you know, about with African American cinema, black cinema in the United States. And I was just thinking कि when you look at some of the landmark films of black cinema from, you know, the 1920s, Oscar Micheaux se lekar ab tak, you know, with Ava DuVernay, and now thankfully there are a lot of, you know, DDs and a lot of younger black filmmakers. But when you chart that stories, you find that some of the films that have really kind of had the most impact were outside of the Hollywood, classical Hollywood, you know, kind of obsession with realism. Like अगर आप black exploitation फिल्में जाके देखें 70s में, तो जो कि मतलब, you know, बहुत pioneering मानी जाती हैं आज. Sweetback Badass song by Melvin Peebles was one of the first such films. You'll see that like those films, and matlab like, you know, the film is basically so reflexive about its own kind of genre and what it's trying to do with the black male protagonist, who till then in American cinema was always shown as being weak and being less than the white male characters or the white women characters, and suddenly you find this really virile and kind of powerful, even eroticized black man, you know, who's being made by a black filmmaker. Or you look at a film like Daughters of the Dust, Julie Dash की, जो आई थिंक बेल हुक्स भी उनके काम के बारे में बात करती है अपने ऐसे में. शी इज यूजिंग शी इज बोथ ऑफ दीज पीपल आर एश्यूइंग रियलिज्म. Like even Julie Dash, she's using a kind of mythic, epic kind of atmospheric quality in that film, which departs and rejects the Hollywood idea of this gaze that you're talking about. The वो framing ही एकदम बिल्कुल अलग है. मैं नहीं कह रही हूँ सब ब्लैक फिल्म मेकर्स ऐसा कर रहे हैं.
उसका भी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है,
उनका भी अपनी हिस्ट्री है, और साइमल्टेनियसली बहुत लोग अलग अलग तरीकों से. स्पाइक ली है, वो काफी कुछ हद तक हॉलीवुड के सिस्टम के अंदर रह के उन्होंने मतलब इंटरवेंशंस किए, और कुछ हद तक उन्होंने वो गेज अपनाई भी अलग अलग दौर में, कुछ कुछ तरीकों से रिजेक्ट भी की. सो वो एक रहेगा. बट आई गेस व्हाट आई एम इंटरेस्टेड इन इज कि आप अपने काम को उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जब देखते हो, जैसे हम गिली पुची की बात करें, अगर कमिंग टू दैट इज अ फिल्म दैट इन सम वेज इज वेरी मच पार्ट ऑफ द popular Hindi film firmament, and at least at first glance it appears like a very typical dharma film until you start watching it, and it's a film that is kind of realism or naturalism के वो मतलब दायरे में रहकर काम कर रही है. So how do you how would you respond to this कि मतलब आप अपने काम को अगर देखें इन सब चीज़ों में, और गीली पुच्ची और B.R. अम्बेडकर की डॉक्यूमेंट्री के बारे में अगर हम बात करें, तो आप कैसे देख रही हैं इन दोनों फिल्मों को एक हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हिंदी सिनेमा की?
इंटरवेंशन ही है. देखिए मतलब आई थिंक वही वो गेज वाला, मतलब वो असर्शन हो रहा है ना, मतलब समाज में, वो सोसाइटी में वो असर्शन हो रहा है, एंड दैट इज वेरी रिफ्लेक्टिव. इट डज समथिंग टू यू, सो यू वांट टू टेल स्टोरीज.
So since we're on the topic, how did Gili Pucci, which is a film that has attracted so many watchers and so many comments, and it's sort of seen as a game changer for Dalit representation in Hindi cinema. And it's been embraced by a wide range of film viewers. How did the film come about? How did Gili Pucci come about? And what was your experience of working as an assistant director on a Dharma film with Neeraj Ghaiwan, somebody who already has an established stature and is seen as someone who broke barriers within Bombay film?
Gili Pucci, I mean, like Neeraj had read Bahujan Spectatorship, and we had met before for some work. So हमारी बातें होती थी इसके बारे में, हम डिस्कस भी कर रहे थे कुछ काम. So उसमें वो possibility of again shifting that gaze was there, that exercise of writing, and I think Neeraj was very open about it. So I was very happy, and of course I also wanted to work on a feature film or like a fiction film basically. So it was like an exchange in that sense, like उनको भी लगा जब उन्होंने ये story आया और उन्होंने कहा अच्छा ठीक है, let's do it, तो भेजा. तो because I knew screenwriting, and so I could really relate with these characters, and then वो सब चीजें आ गई, मतलब कि how do I see Priya Sharma or how do I see Bharti Mondal. Then because I was working as a director's assistant, but it was like more of like consultant work. Of course, I was working as a director's assistant as well. So I just wanted an entry, so I got that. So I was like, yeah, why not? So, and he really appreciated my work as well. So, and he gave me space to speak, and I spoke also voluntarily, whenever I felt that this needs to be corrected, or I need to have this perspective. So जब मतलब script reading sessions हुए, तो from costumes to locations, कि भारती का घर कैसा होगा और प्रिया शर्मा का घर कैसे होगा, कानपुर में मतलब किसी ब्राह्मण का घर कैसा होगा, इस क्लास के लोगों के लिए, ये सोशल स्ट्रेटा, ये इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस को लेते हुए. So we did that. I mean, मैं बॉम्बे में ही थी, but I was like, घर में बहुत फोन किया, हजारों दोस्तों को फोन किया कि भाई भेजो फोटो भेजो, फिर उनके मंदिर की फोटो भेजो, घर की फोटो भेजो, बाहर की फोटो भेजो, the colors of the wall, a lot of things. So everything was so it gave like a really sense of, creating that space. And also like it was very interesting transformation also. The script also evolved, the story also in dialogues, and in the research as well.
Yeah.
तो वो भी काफी हुआ, तो वो मुझे बहुत मतलब बहुत ही काफी सिखाया और उसने एक थोड़ा सा एक मतलब ठहराव भी दिया, क्योंकि आप जब कुछ काम कर रहे हो, इट इज लास्ट मिनट पे भी चेंज कर सकते हो आप. ऐसा हो ही सकता है. Script reading sessions maybe मतलब when we had script reading sessions like twice or thrice. So वही जब हम पढ़ रहे थे कैरेक्टर्स को, तो फिर मुझे समझ में आ रहा है कि इसका एजेंसी तो बिल्कुल अलग ही है, मतलब so and then you're writing minutes of those meetings as well. So I'm after that ये discuss हुआ, वो गया पूरा टीम के साथ में. So
so you're improvising constantly.
हाँ, constantly, like, and I also worked on dialect with them, so I did dialect exercises.
How do you see the reversal of gaze playing out in Gili Pucci as a writer? अब आज तक हमने ऐसी बहुजन प्रोटैगनिस्ट नहीं देखी है हिंदी फिल्म.
हाँ.
एक तरीके से तो उसका होना ही रेडिकल है.
पर वो हमारा ब्रीफिंग था, वो जब हम, so I was like majorly researching, so मैंने वो देखा तो मुझे समझ में आया, मुझे clearly like I could see it कि भारती मंडल क्या है, उसका कैरेक्टर क्यों है, वो assertive क्यों है, मतलब it's not by default that you are assertive and you are there is this angst. You are a person in society. Again, वही वो place करना था. So it wasn't like, oh, we are making a film on caste. It was like caste is a reality. So everybody was briefed like that. तो थोड़ा सा मतलब obviously B.R. Ambedkar now दिन का, क्योंकि मैं काफी शूट कर चुकी थी, तो मैं काफी लोगों से मिल चुकी थी, और मैं तो वेस्टर्न यूपी की हूँ. I could completely place them. And नीरज ने कोंकणा को, याशिका दत्त का बुक है जो coming out as a Dalit, yes. So वो दिया था उनको. फिर Christoph Kieslowski का Blue है, वो था color scheming. If you see of the film, there's constant blue and saffron. वो भी दिखाई देगा आपको उनके कपड़ों में. So the color of the blue color, like the costume का blue color, वो ऐसा.
No, it was very evocative also. Yeah. Like the even how Neeraj filmed it. I mean, right, as you said, the color palette itself was very obviously sort of gesturing towards the inner life and the kind of backgrounds that both these characters belong to. But also, like you mentioned earlier, like we didn't set out to make a film about caste, and I find it very odd that it's always brought up whenever a Bahujan filmmaker makes a film that this film is about caste. Whereas, like, actually all films are about caste. Any film made in India is about caste, right? Just like any film made in the United States is about race. I mean, you can make it, there are stories which are explicitly about race and explicitly about caste, but even if they're like, those are not the themes or the explicit topics. Like just the very nature, by the very virtue of being made in caste society or race society. Those things are going to be present, right? So, like for instance, all of the films that have been made till now by upper caste people are, you know, Khatri cinema or Brahmin cinema, or whatever you want to call it, but nobody would identify it as such, right? But you will rush to label a film made by a Dalit person as Dalit cinema.
It's a marker.
To me, the reversal of the gaze, at least at the characterological level, really came through in Priya's character. That was the real reversal of the gaze, because you were seeing, for the first time in a Hindi film, you were seeing a Brahmin woman through a Dalit woman's eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really, yeah. But it was so like, I mean, as we were saying, she wasn't villainized. She wasn't turned into some kind of a joke.
Yeah, that was, I think that you should give it to Neeraj completely, because he didn't want to villainize them. I mean, वो वही human वाली ही बात होती है, पर आप मोहब्बत में मिल रहे हैं, लेकिन फिर क्या है, मतलब जैसे वो एक the moment she reveals her caste, it's just you know, that trust is betrayed. Popular culture ने किया ही वही है. They have normalized this practice of caste so much, and there you see that you're a liberal, and you think you can level up. I mean, and or maybe you want to level up, but the test is that moment itself. You know, have you fully embraced it? Like, if you want to annihilate it, then you'll have to look at your own social location as well. You'll have to be, and then फिर मतलब प्रिया का कैरेक्टर वो हम था ही वैसा कि वो टिपिकल डिम्योर प्रिटी गुड लुकिंग गर्ल, यू नो, कंफ्यूज्ड है अपनी सेक्सुअलिटी को लेके, सॉफ्ट स्पोकन है, मस्ती करती है, यू नो, बट शी इज लाइक अ व्हीकल ऑफ पेट्रियार्की. तो क्योंकि वो नहीं निकल रही है ना अपने शादी से, मतलब she is a bisexual, if she's an assertive person, she should step out of it either.
I mean, it's also, to me, what was interesting was it wasn't so much Priya being a Sharma, it wasn't so much Priya being a Brahmin, as it was about her embodying Brahmanical virtues. And she was, at least in her public persona.
Yeah, of course. She's totally like this vehicle of Brahmanical patriarchy. Absolutely.
And she was undone by it. Like Bharti used that against her, because that's the only way she's going to like get hers, in a society where everything is stacked against Bharti. I mean, in a way, like Priya did this to herself, right? At one level. If you're going to buy into the project of Brahmanical patriarchy, then at some point it's going to come for you.
And it's going to come for you, and it's also the choice that you have made. You can see in Bharti, you can see the other. She wears her sexuality, which is so evident from her body, but her caste identity is a problem, and it is systematic. Like she knows that she's being systematically, like the whole system is, you know, standing up against her. मतलब उसका experience ही, you know, just like a Bahujan person, Dalit person growing up in life and sexuality it's like a double edge, I mean triple edge in that sense, if it's your class, caste, gender, you know, and also sexuality, 4 चीजें हो गया उसमें, मतलब so वो बहुत evident है उस तरीके से, मतलब उसको पता है कि उसका like everything is a cost.
In a Hindi film, in a typical Hindi film, you would only see Bharti through Priya's eyes, and she would have to perform the role of a good Dalit woman.
मुझे लगता है ना, love और वो philosophy में ही, art में ही हो सकता है, ये space है. आपको वो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का, वो चेंज होने का, एक्सेप्टेंस का, जहाँ वेयर यू आर एबल टू गिव अप, गिव अवे, you learn to it. You go through that struggle of unlearning what you have learned, but that possibility is there, so I'm like, what I'm saying, so ultimately, because I was just like working as a researcher on the film, like what was the narrative which was already set into it, it made sense to me, like as a story completely. And I think that that this kind of a storytelling totally, like, there was totally like a space for it, where you're not like, you're not, again, that victim gaze is not there. There is an assertion, and there is a systematic oppression. There's like a clear dynamics of systematic oppression which is there, which is invisible, subtle, but it is just there. And you feel for both of them. Yeah. You don't feel for just one person.
You do. Yeah, and that's why they're fully fleshed out characters, right? Like they're not, Priya is not a mustache twirling villain. But also, as you said, I think popular film can often be a very important potent site.
Absolutely,
for brokering certain kinds of friendships and accords and love. And that's the reason why people watch films also, right? There's lots of things that you resolve in the space of the screen that maybe is not always so easily narratively solvable in real life. But I also wanted to ask, जो अभी हम दौर देख रहे हैं, there are more than ever before, बहुत कम है, but पहले से ज़्यादा Bahujan filmmakers finally in a position to make the kind of films they want to make. They are household names, at least among a certain section of movie-going public. And they're able to exhibit their work in an unprecedented capacity despite the limitations that the Savarn, infrastructure imposes on them. How do you see the current scenario for Bahujan artists? And do you think the tide has turned? I guess I'm also asking this to go, in order to go back to something that you were talking about earlier, that I'm wondering if there's now an expectation to make a certain kind of film or write a certain kind of script, like a cast film. Do you think that is happening?
तो अभी तो शुरुआत हुई है, ऐसा कुछ मुझे लगता नहीं है. मतलब of course, like Tamil cinema is doing wonders for sure. And then again, there is history in the state itself. So that kind of reflects in the cinema as well. Yes, Bollywood is, we are waking up to this fact. Won't say that, maybe I hope Geeli Pucci sets in some kind of a benchmark that you do involve a researcher from that caste background caste background, or like who has that lived experience when you talk about something like caste or gender, or let's say sexuality, but from the community, when you're representing the marginalized and women as well. So I would just say कि we are waking up to, for sure, like it's like a थोड़ा, मुझे पता नहीं कितना sincere है, पर हो रहा है.
नहीं, but I'm also talking about जो बहुजन filmmakers खुद हैं जो ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं इंडस्ट्रीज में.
हाँ, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा तो नहीं है अभी. मतलब बहुजन कास्ट पे फिल्म बन रही है, but are people from the community making that film? बॉम्बे में कितने लोग हैं?
I was thinking of Nagraj Manjule, Paranjit, Neeraj Gaiwan, or even like among younger people, I'm thinking of someone like Somnath Wagmare or Prateek Parmar, so there is a certain generational shift that has happened.
For sure, for sure.
Thanks to the work of
for sure.
So, but I wonder also, like, if there's pressure within, because like you said, we don't know how sincere it is, and so now it's become also. You were talking earlier about Ambedkar being commodified, and so how do you, like, I wonder, like, if that's something that filmmakers have to grapple with in their practice, that within the kind of industrial context, the film industrial context, do they feel like they have to only make a certain kind of film or a film about identity in this particular way? Like a film like Geeli Pucci transcends that, right? The point is that it's about caste, like all films are about caste. But it's also a love story. It's also a story about friendship.
So that's what I'm saying. No, you have changed the method. The thing is, what happened, I think for me, having already looked at films and analyzed it, and also having theorized it, and of course it is going to make that sense. So the method of looking changed, and I applied that method basically. So long you're able to apply it with that sincerity, it is possible. That possibility of intervention is there. And of course, there'll be like so many stories. Like you said yourself, that the films, Indian cinema is more so from top to bottom, is about caste. It is about one kind of hegemony, one kind of looking at, you have victimized it so long with the kind of cinema that we have seen. It was from very, again, Brahminical patriarchy, savior complex, in a victim gaze. You've looked at it, and I don't agree with it. This is, if you look at the history of anti-caste movement and how assertive anti-caste movement has been about dignity and self-respect, you are reversing the उस नाट्य शास्त्र में आप जब महाभारत को देखते हैं या रामायण को देखते हैं तो वो रिवर्स किया गया. Now you're looking at the stories, I mean, of people who you've called the Rakshasas, or you called Dasas, or you called Chandals, or you know, वही जो भी पोजीशन ऑफ पावर में था उसने वैसे लिखा. थैंक्स टू रिजर्वेशन लोग पढ़ लिख गए हैं, एक जनरेशन तैयार हो गया है, तो वो देखने लगे हैं. टेक्नोलॉजी, मीडिया इकोलॉजी है. सो इट्स नॉट जस्ट द सिनेमा. देयर आर मीम्स, देयर इज रील्स, देयर इज इंस्टाग्राम, देयर इज फेसबुक. आई मीन, you know, the space to have alternate conversation is emerging. Right. And so much so that of course it is also algorithm based and it is also controlled. But look at the population, man. मतलब अभी आधे भी बात करेंगे तो फिर सुनना तो पड़ेगा ही, you know. तो वो हो गया है. तो मुझे लगता है कि वो मेथड, वो ही गेस का, वो नॉलेज को अप्लाई करने का, खुद को देखने का, अपने कल्चर से आने का, you know, invert हो चुका है. Like, and that method has been applied. It has been very aggressively. You have to look at from the perspective of storytelling and protagonist. Then there wasn't a character like Kala, or there wasn't a character like Karnan. You know, there was definitely, so वही oppositional gaze. It is an oppositional gaze for me. It is an oppositional agency for me, you know. So अभी आपने method ही change कर दिया है देखने का, वो structure को, तो फिर naturally वो सिनेमा अलग आएगा. अभी उस पे सुधीर मिश्रा फिल्म बना रहे हैं, या अनुभव सिन्हा बना रहे हैं, या सुभाष कपूर बना रहे हैं, तो उनका मेथड ही अलग है. वो अपने ही पोजीशन से देख रहे हैं, है ना. फिर वो वही आइडियोलॉजी बहुत कॉन्शियसली अनकॉन्शियसली प्लेस हो जाती है. अब मैं ये तो बहुत पर्सनल क्वेश्चन है, उनसे तो पर्सनली ही पूछ सकते कि अरे, आर यू कॉन्शियस ऑफ इट, व्हाट यू प्रोड्यूसिंग, हाउ यू लुकिंग. चैडविक बोजमन, इन वन ऑफ द इंटरव्यूज ही सेड कि यू थिंक दैट आई एम इन योर स्टोरी, but you are in my story.
So, I mean, it's like, I think what you're saying is also like, you remember like Birth of a Nation abhi 3-4 साल पहले रीमेक होकर आई थी. So obviously the original Birth of a Nation was a white supremacist KKK propaganda film, you know, like, and it set up the black characters to be as villains, as rapacious, terrorizing, you know, evil people who sort of ruined white lives. And then 100 years later, you had a black filmmaker remake the film entirely from the black perspective,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, that's kind of what that is, right? It's the same story. It depends on who's telling it.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah, and I think it's what you said, you know, like as you're talking about this method of the reversal of the gaze being effectuated through this method. I mean, that's what aesthetics is, right? It's a reordering of social relations.
Yeah.
It means a certain kind of visual regime. जो हम बार-बार we're talking about the gaze, we're saying invisible, we're talking about the optics of things. What we really mean is that ways of seeing are entirely politically and socially determined.
Absolutely.
Right? The moment you represent a social order differently, you've already made a point. You've already challenged the dominant aesthetics.
Yeah.
And talking about that, do you want to, tell our listeners about B.R. Ambedkar now and then, your forthcoming documentary? I know that COVID has kind of delayed much of the production, but share with us how you came to it and how you developed the film.
How I developed the film. So many things were happening. I think the political circumstance was changing in the country. The scholarships were getting banned for marginalized students, and the institutions were at protests. There were student movements across the country. Rohit Vemula passed away. My mother had passed away in 2015, and there was loss. Then FTI, there were protests in FTI was happening because of Gajen Chauhan was supposed to be appointed as I think the director or dean. So many things were like personal in that sense, loss and this attack on institutions, education institution especially. Then because there was an attack on educational institutions, so at that sort of I started questioning why is it happening right now, what's going on actually. Then it somehow led to Rohit Vemula's institutional murder, and what was happening, which is like heartbreaking, that university was shut. So that, I mean, so it began from, again, like I was saying, and then again, obviously, appropriation of Dr. Ambedkar was also happening. Kala had already happened, I think so. No, it hadn't happened. No.
Kala was 2018.
It was 2018, yes. So anyway, so all these things were happening, and I was feeling like you are born into this and community, and so it just made sense to me. Like, and then at home, I was also like listening a lot about Dr. Ambedkar, and I mean, 2014-15, I was like trying to stay with my mother. She wasn't keeping well. So obviously घर में थे, काफी बात हो रही थी, मतलब देश में भी क्या हो रहा है इसके बारे में भी बात हो रही थी. So बस ऐसे ही शुरू हो गया. फिर मुझे लगा कि ये तो बहुत ये कंफर्ट जोन में है थोड़ा सा, मतलब ये समझ सकती हूँ मैं, मतलब इतना समझ में नहीं आ रहा था लेकिन familiar था, ये कह सकती हूँ. So it was because it was familiar. So and my trial of trying to make a feature film had already failed then. So I was like constantly thinking कि अभी film तो बनाना है कैसे भी करके, So this seemed like the story that I wanted to tell. And then just like that, I started just shooting, and so much was happening across the country also. Like so much was unfolding, whether it was about Bhim Army or it was about Unasmita Yatra, or it was about Rohit Vemula or FTII. So it was like as an artist or as a Bahujan person, both ways I felt like they just come trying to stifle your voice and will not. मतलब अभी तो you have started to prepare yourself to have your voice. अभी समझ में आ रहा है, उस जमाने में, उस टाइम में 2014-15 में. फिर ऐसा मतलब the kind of circumstance that was happening, in the country. I was working in Dehradun in an organization, something like an event management company. So I was working as an assistant editor with them. I was developing a magazine for them, and वो जो भी उनका पूरा department था, writing, creative department. So I was dealing with that. तो थोड़ा पैसा था, फिर मुझे लगा कि अभी करते हैं छुट्टी. मैंने मतलब ऐसा उनसे मतलब I had sort of already had decided that I will make a film, and I had already shot, and in between I got this job. So I told them that I want to whenever I need a leave, you give it to me, sort of that, at that condition. And they were like, हाँ ठीक है, okay. So I would plan my shoot accordingly in that sense, shoot like twice in a week or something like that, or in a month in some ways, or 2-3 days. So I will take leaves like that. It was very dramatic, actually, very dramatic, very intense. You don't know how to place yourself, but you really want to figure out. I felt very driven.
From the trailer, it seemed like you there was footage from a lot of different sites, and it seems like you traveled quite a bit.
Yeah, went to 8 states. So everything what happened in the country, I tried to capture, and वही वो मामला वो गैस वाला ही था. मुझे
मामला गैस का sounds like a detective novel.
So बस वही था, मतलब मुझे नहीं अच्छा लग रहा था कि पॉपुलर कल्चर कैसे हमें देख रहा था, और मुझे लग रहा था कि अरे ये लोग बात क्यों नहीं, मुझे मतलब वो समझ में नहीं आया ना मुझे कि अरे क्वेश्चन, अगर आप एजुकेशन का है, वो एबिलिटी का है उन चीज़ों को क्वेश्चन करने की, तो क्यों नहीं किया गया है अभी तक, वो किसने किया है, फिर वो भी जानना बहुत ज़रूरी हो गया कि किसने किया है. फिर शूट कर लिया तो मुझे लगा अरे बाप रे, ये तो बहुत ही इंटेंस है. मतलब काफी ऐसे दिल घबराता था, डर डर तो नहीं लगता था, मतलब बहुत इंटरेस्टिंगली बहुत नेगोशिएट करके मैंने फिल्म बनाने की कोशिश की है, क्योंकि बहुत पैसे तो थे ही नहीं नेचुरली.
सो ये इन अ वे एक सेल्फ फंडेड है और क्राउड फंडेड है.
हाँ, या
है ना?
yeah. So when I was shooting also, like, people were very curious and keen, because I think they hadn't seen two women with one sound person going to different places and trying to shoot. हमें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा था, हम मतलब हमें बस और शूट करना भी नहीं आता था ऑनेस्टली, लाइक प्रॉपरली फ्रेम भी करना नहीं आता था, बट बहुत ही, एंड आई ट्राई टू वर्क विद माई फिल्म स्कूल पीपल एज वेल. आई ट्राई टू स्पीक टू देम. अब पैसे नहीं है तो नेचुरली बॉम्बे वालों को तो बहुत पैसे चाहिए होते हैं. सो आई मीन, दो माई कैमरा पर्सन वाज आल्सो फ्रॉम बॉम्बे, बट शी वाज आल्सो लाइक also learning, but she was very keen, to, I mean, and I said कि I'll just like figure out stay and food for you. पैसे जब आएंगे तो मैं दे दूंगी, पर आ जाएंगे, don't worry. So she was like, हाँ ठीक है. मतलब, I mean, so our work was built on like honesty, more so faith. Like, we didn't know each other at all. So like not even common friends, okay? She had contacted me from LinkedIn.
You found each other on Facebook. No. Orkut से upgrade.
LinkedIn.
आज का Orkut.
हाँ, so आज के Orkut में उसने लिखा मुझे कि she was looking for some kind of a writer to write a short story I had written for her. तो मैंने ऐसे पहला ड्राफ्ट लिख के छोटा सा एक पेज का दे दिया था, मुझे जो दिखा, जैसा मैं समझ में आया, तो उससे लगा रे टिफिक, मतलब अच्छा है, काफी अच्छा है, मैं शूट नहीं कर पाऊंगी. एंड आई वाज लाइक व्हाट रबिश. तो सो फिर देन आई हैड सीन हर वर्क एज वेल, सो व्हिच आई फाउंड, वो ये वुमन है तो उसका गेज बहुत ही डिफरेंट था जो और लोगों का था. तो एंड फिर वो बहुत ही डिसिप्लिन रही पूजा. And she's not the only camera person who's worked, like several people have worked over a period of years. But that was like, I think, her support, and she had a camera, a DSLR. So बस वही ये क्या नाम है, कैमरा स्टैंड खरीद लो और बैटरीज एक्स्ट्रा खरीद लो, और मतलब वो जो आपको जो भी जुगाड़ से कैसे भी करके आप मतलब लिटरली didn't have money but had the real desire to really make this film and try to capture it. अभी कैसे समझाओगे तुम किसी को, जिसको पॉलिटिकली इस पर्सपेक्टिव का ज्ञान नहीं है, और बहुत पैसे भी नहीं है, ऐसा है, मतलब पहले कि काम करना है फिर पैसे मिलेंगे तुमको, ऐसा. तो क्योंकि मेरे पास भी पैसे नहीं थे, मुझे खाली प्रोडक्शन करने तक का पैसा था, या ट्रेन में ले जाने का पैसा था, या खाना खिलाने का पैसा था, उससे ज्यादा पैसा नहीं था हमारे पास में. सो एंड बट हाँ, इट वर्कड आउट. फिर से शुरू हुई.
Yeah, I think like from what you're describing, it's also like this is in the grand tradition of like shoestring budget cinema, जो कि रहा है, as we know. Some of the best films in world cinema have come out of this kind of hustling. So, and it's interesting that, we've been talking about how our gaze is structured by these relations, economic and social, right, in the world. And what you're describing is so antithetical to, let's say, how things would work in industrial cinema. जो studio films हैं या जो बड़ी banner की films हैं, they work on a very different production logic.
Yes, absolutely.
And like, everything you've been talking about in terms of seeing differently and reversing the method, and how you're applying it in your own work, in your own practice, that seems to come through. I'm also thinking of like, just it's what you were talking earlier about, TikTok and Insta Reels, and people having access, through their phones and other, portable equipment now, digital equipment. It's easier than ever before to have control over your art and your craft, and to make even sort of technologically intensive media forms like film, or cinema can have in some ways become more accessible, more democratic. So maybe that also has something to do with people from different kinds of locations, than ever before. Being able to make films, or to sort of access a world which historically was gate kept, right, by owners of capital. अब उस तरीके के इंटेंसिव कैपिटल की जरूरत नहीं है. आप एक डिजिटल कैमरा अपने फोन पे कैसे भी आप फिल्म बना सकते हो. So I wonder if this moment of Bahujan film, for instance, is also dovetailing with a certain kind of moment in digital independent cinema and forms of filmmaking like phone based एक तरीके से, and they're feeding off each other. और जो आप भी बता रहे हो कि आपको ये अपनी सिनेमाटोग्राफर जो मिली हैं, वो DSLR और आप दोनों निकल पड़े and you managed to kind of get so much footage. But the impression I'm getting is, so by going to all of these different sites, you're kind of trying to revisit Ambedkar's ideas in the context of what's happening today. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's what I got from the trailer.
I mean, naturally, मतलब वो इंटेंशन ही वही था एक्चुअली. शुरुआत करने का इंटेंशन ही वही था. फिर जैसे जैसे हम, और ऑल्सो लाइक एवरीथिंग दैट इज हैपनिंग, यू आर ऑल्सो गेटिंग अगेन लाइक दिस पॉपुलर पर्सपेक्टिव थ्रू मीडिया, एंड I want to know more. I felt like I want to know more, and I was any which way getting to know more from people, through my family or somebody else or friends, or who have the alternative way to look at it, and or students who are in HCU, for example, या कोई RTI एक्टिविस्ट को कोई पता है, वो मेरे को मैसेज भेजे जा रहे हैं फोन में, कुछ ऐसा. सो मतलब पर्सपेक्टिव है, ऑल्टरनेटिव पर्सपेक्टिव है, और जो आइडियोलॉजी है जो असर्ट कर रहे हैं लोग बाबा साहब के थ्रू, तो वो पर्सपेक्टिव लाना इन फ्रॉम द करंट सर्कमस्टेंस वाज वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट, so बस वही था. मतलब अगेन लाइक I mean, so naturally like I could see कि there is appropriation of Dr. Ambedkar is happening. So मतलब आप कितना देखोगे इसको, है ना? तो वो, और आप उसके उनका जो पर्सपेक्टिव है, उनका जो कहानी है, वो मुझे जानने का मुझे लगा कि ये जानना बहुत जरूरी है, ये लोग क्यों बाबा साहब को असर्ट कर रहे हैं. एंड देन थॉरली what I also found was very very काफी पढ़े लिखे लोग, मतलब कम्युनिटी से काफी पढ़े लिखे लोग जो कॉन्स्टेंटली पढ़ रहे हैं, पर उनका इकोनॉमिक सर्कमस्टेंस इज not very very rich. Person who's from a marginalized background, no matter how you are more, maybe you have more experience or more degrees, but the kind of opportunities that you're getting, again that gatekeeping is there. So naturally and then media, how do they write? So being a journalist, now you also understand के headline कैसे बनता है. And again, like ways of seeing, I didn't see myself, or I don't see my community people the way the popular culture looks at us. And it is like it's like another kind of othering. किसी भी society में if you are there, then it is the intellectual class which kind of decides and makes this popular perspective or popular discourse जो बनाता है. फिर उसमें ये आइडियोलॉजिकल स्टेट एपरेटस एंड कैसे वो अफेक्ट करता है, आइडियोलॉजी कैसे अफेक्ट करती है, स्टेट एपरेटस कैसे उसमें कंट्रीब्यूट करता है, व्हाट आर द प्लेटफॉर्म्स दैट यू आर गोइंग थ्रू. सो वो सब कुछ लाइक इट ऑल ऑफ इट स्टार्टेड मेकिंग सेंस. सो देन आई जस्ट सॉ, तभी मेरे को मतलब दैट्स व्हाई देन आई रोट दैट पेपर एज वेल, बिकॉज आई कुड सी देयर इज लाइक अ होल, इट्स नॉट वन पर्सन, इट्स लाइक अ होल apparatus that is working against you. So my question, my really like matlab, and it is not just to privileged community, it is also, let's say, men from my community, anybody who's just like, anybody who's just like consciously or unconsciously is practicing Brahminical patriarchy, please work with yourself. It's really really important that you work with yourself, and it reflects on how, matlab, हम totally I think वो space create कर सकते हैं. Difficult है, but for sure
but
that possibility of creating
it is difficult, but करना तो पड़ेगा ना. So but thank you so much. I really had a great time talking to you. I think I learned a lot, and I think we spoke about things that had to do with cinema but also life. So that was kind of nice. And I wish you the best for B.R. Ambedkar now and then. I hope that the film really does well, and I hope you'll keep me in the loop when it's released. Look forward to seeing it, and maybe we'll have the chance to have another conversation after the film is out at some point.
Yes, absolutely, inshallah. I'll just like to add that, and I would like to tell my listeners and the audience and people who are reading my work, that now now I am negotiating with distributors.
Oh, fantastic.
Now this is also like a journey, and the intention is to make it as much accessible. I hope to bring the film to people as soon as possible. And and I'm very happy and sort of excited and thoda sa pressurized as well that people are really looking forward to it as well.
That's a good kind of pressure, but I'm sure you'll deliver.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time, Jyoti.
Thanks a lot. This was really fun.
Thank you for tuning into Art Alap with Jyoti Nisha, in which through her wide-ranging work across fiction and non-fiction film, as well as writing and research spanning different genres, we discuss the political stakes of cinema in theory and practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and share the episode over social media. For more information and updates, you can follow us on Instagram at art.alap and on Twitter at RTALAAP. Before I go, I want to take a moment to send strength and support to our listeners as we in India battle the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you and those you care about stay safe during this time. A reminder too that direct messages on Art Alap's social media, Instagram and Twitter are open if you want to share resources, especially if you're an arts and culture organization wanting to spread information about relief initiatives.